Dumelang bomme le bontate, ke a le amohela. Hello. Oh, apologies. My Lord just reminded me that you are all muted. We are about to start in 2 minutes. You are welcome and thank you for joining on time. No, it's not. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ke kopa re qaleng. Dumelang bomme le bontate. My name is Shosha Mofokeng. I am the National Coordinator for Network of Early Childhood Development of Lesotho. And thank you very much for joining our webinar, where we are going to discuss inequalities in accessing early childhood education in Lesotho. We do have our invitees or our panelists. We have Mayor Masifiso from Ministry of Education. We have Mayor Ladile Rotodi from UNICEF, and we have our sister from Botswana, Felicitas. Let me introduce myself, and then I will let them introduce themselves. As I have already mentioned, I am Shosha Mofokeng, the National Coordinator for a Network of Early Childhood Development of Lesotho, and I am going to be the host of this webinar. Thank you very much. Mayor Masifiso or Felicitas, whoever is there online, please introduce yourselves so that Basotho and all the international participants that have joined us know who we are. Oh, apologies. I am professionally, I'm a social worker. I'm a trained social worker and an ECCD specialist. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mayor Masifiso. I saw that you're already in.
Yes, Meshoshe. Good morning, all. My name is Masifiso Chetani. I am the Senior Economic Planner in the Ministry of Education and Training, the ECCD unit. Thank you very much. We are happy to engage in this webinar.
Thank you very much, Mayor Masifiso. Felicitas? Felicitas?
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Felicitas Mutimeti, and I work for Child Rights Network for Southern Africa. Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much, Felicitas. Melody? Okay, it seems Melody is not yet in. Bomme le bontate ba shebeletseng khona Facebook re na le baeti ba rona ka mona jwale ka ha se ba itsebisitse ke Mayor Masifiso le Felicitas. Felicitas yena o hlaha Botswana. Ke kopa le tle le tsebe hore ehlile re tlo tla re sebedisa dipuo tse pedi tse leng official languages tsa Lesotho, e leng English and Sesotho, but most of the presentations will be done in English, and then I would like to ask my participants to summarize what they would have said in Sesotho. And you know, Phyllistas, as you are a sister, even Setswana will still understand when you give us a summary. So I'm going to do a short introduction on issues of early childhood education. Please note that we still have not introduced Melody. So when she comes in, Melody, we will give you a chance to introduce yourself. Thank you very much. When we talk about a child, we talk about someone who is between 0 to 18 years. But for us, as Network of Early Childhood Development, we are focusing on 0 to 8 children. And what we normally use official documents such as the Nature and Care Framework to implement our work. And the Nature and Care Framework is a set of conditions that provide for children's health, nutrition, security, and safety, responsive caregiving, and opportunities for learning. Nurturing children means keeping them safe, healthy, and well-nourished, paying attention and responding to their needs and interests, encouraging them to explore their environment and interact with caregivers and others. The Nature and Care Framework has 5 components, which are good health, adequate nutrition, responsive caregiving, security and safety, and opportunities for early learning. Under the Nature and Care Framework, we will focus on the opportunities for early learning for this presentation. Apologies, it seems. Apologies, it seems we are struggling with our connection. And under the Nature and Care Framework, we'll be looking at the opportunities for learning, specifically early childhood education. But before we go in deep into what opportunities for early learning means, we also want to put it out there that we align our work with the Sustainable Development Goals. As we know, the 2030 Agenda. And the 2030 Agenda, it has the SDG 4. It has 17 SDGs, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, which are an urgent call for action by all countries, developed and developing in a global partnership. They recognize that ending poverty and other deep events must go hand in hand with strategies that improve health and education, as well as reducing inequality and spur economic growth. While at the same time, we need to pay attention to the issues of climate change, as we can see that the weather is no longer what we used to know. And specifically, we will be focusing on SDG 4, which talks about quality education. And under SDG 4, we will be looking at target 4.2, which indicates that by 2030, we need to ensure that all girls and boys have access to quality early childhood development care and pre-primary education so that they are ready for primary. And the indicators that we are working towards is proportion of children being developmentally on track in 4 domains, which are language or literacy, numeracy, physical and socio-emotional and cognitive development, as well as participating in organized early learning, at least 1 year of pre-primary education. And now that I have indicated the frameworks that we use in our work, we also look at what the international organizations say about early childhood education. And International Standard Classification of Education 2011 classifies early childhood education as a school-based or otherwise institutionalized care and learning of a group of young children. It is often referred to different terms across the world. And if we can remember, we did mention the Nature and Care Framework, and under the Nature and Care Framework, I did mention the component of opportunities for early learning. And let me just clear it out that opportunities for early learning means children's learning starts at home. As we know that we are taught, research indicates that a child's brain is built. You are not born brilliant, but the environment that surrounds you is the one that makes you brilliant. So opportunities for early learning starts at home. And then when a child gets to the ages of 3 years, we are expecting that child to have access to quality early childhood education. And that is in our centers, where here the International Standard Classification of Education indicates that ECCD centers cater for children between the ages of 3 to 5, because when they are 6 years old, they are expected to be in primary education. And therefore, these are the years where we are building a child's foundation phase, and to ensure that that child does succeed. Bomme le bontate, mona ditaba tsena tse re ketang ho bua ka tsona fela re bontsha fela hore na hantle hore na rona re le netlo le thuto ya rona re ipapisa le mosebetsi wa rona re ipapisa re shebane le eng, mosebetsi wa rona ho etsa re ipapisitse le dingolwang tse fapaneng tse ka reng the Nature and Care Framework, e be le ditaba tsa ntsa di-SDG tse ho hlolang ho bua ka tsona hore re tshwanetse ho sebeletsa hore re bone hore di-SDG tsa rona ra di fihlela. Empa haholoholo tsatsing lena re tlo tla re bua ka SDG 4 yane e buang ka taba tsa thuto, e be ho yona mono ho SDG 4 re tlo tla re bua ka taba yane ya bana ho kena sekolo sa dikonyana, haholo bonyane selemo se le seng sa dikonyaneng. Ke ya leboha, ke tla tswela pele. When we look at pre-primary education access internationally, research indicates that pre-primary education is the foundation of a child's journey, and every step or education that follows from pre-primary education. Pre-primary is the foundation, and it ensures the success of children. But unfortunately, nearly half of all pre-primary age children around the world are not enrolled in preschools. And it is even worse in low-income countries, where only 1 out of 5 children attend early childhood education programs. And most of these children who are also accessing this pre-primary education, their teachers are poorly trained. They are usually in classes that are overcrowded, and you'll find that most schools use unsuitable curriculum, and this is a challenge for many children internationally. So at an international level, only 1 out of 5 children are able to access early childhood education. And when we come to, because the statistics that I was talking about of 1 out of 5 children, it's at international level. But then when it comes to Lesotho, the numbers are even worse, as the education sector analysis indicates that over 80% of our children, of our teachers in the early childhood education sector are not well trained, And only 4 out of 10 children in Lesotho have access to pre-primary education, especially in the rural communities. And that the government of Lesotho only invests less than 1% of the allocated education budget compared to the 10%, the recommended 10%. This says fewer children in Lesotho are accessing early childhood education. If that means at an international level, the average is 1 out of 5 children. But for us, unfortunately, it means 4 out of 10 children. And 4 out of those 10 children, more than 80% of the teachers are not well trained to be early childhood education. And we know, and we see this, anybody can be an ECCD teacher. And even if you have a master's degree in social work and you go and be an ECCD teacher, it still means you are not qualified to be an early childhood care and development teacher, because you don't know what you are supposed to do. You are not aware of the methods that you are supposed to implement for you to assist children to be developmentally on track. And in Lesotho, even though we only have 4 out of 10 children, the Ministry of Education has ensured that it tries to introduce different types of centers where children can go. We have the home-based centers where it is free, and this is the center where parents take turns. And this means children that are in centers get education from people who are not qualified. Of course, the Ministry of Education does train teachers, but it means they are train parents on how to ensure that they are able to assist children to be developmentally on track, so that when they go to grade 1, they are ready for primary education. But they are not qualified, they are only trained. And then we also have even in ECCD centers. So the only place where we can say we have qualified teachers is in reception classes. And we only have around 242 reception classes in Lesotho compared to the 1,400 primary schools that we need to ensure and advocate for attachment of the reception classes. All these issues that I have mentioned here are showing that children do not access early childhood development equally, because for parents who have money, they can take their children to ECCD centers, but those who do not have money, they are not able to do that. And we know that Lesotho is facing a big challenge where more than 50% of our population is living under poverty line. And this means that 50% definitely, if there are no reception classes attached in their communities, their children will not be able to access a good foundation of pre-primary education. And that means their chances of completing education are low, unlike that of a child who has who has gone through early childhood education, who has 85% of success in their life. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening. And now we are going to play an advocacy video that shows you the challenges that Basotho children do face. This video is just to show you the small glimpse of children that children go through. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Before we play our video, we would like to welcome our last speaker, Melati. Melati, please introduce yourself. Oh, wait, yes, please introduce yourself. Melati? Hello. Hello, Melody. Please introduce yourself. Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Lati Lerotodi. I work for UNICEF Lesotho as an ECD specialist. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, video. Then after this, we will have a presentation by Mayor Masifiso. Apologies, we are having a technical glitch, but we will be solving it soon. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. On my laptop, the video was not playing very well, and therefore we will share the link to the video. The link was just showing children from Kutin district, how the long routes that they have to travel for them to access pre-primary education. And as you will see when you are watching the video later, these children will be accessing pre-primary education for the first time. and therefore it means they only get that 1 year of pre-primary education. And these are the issues that we are going to discuss, because when you talk about inequalities, we talk about the environment, we talk about children with disabilities, we talk about the challenges, everyday challenges that children have to come across for them to access early childhood education. Thank you very much. We will get a presentation from Mayor Masifiso Chetane. Over to you, Mayor Masifiso.
Thank you, Mayor Shwe. Can you please share the presentation from your side? Hey, there it goes. Thank you very much, Mayor Shwe, for highlighting the inequalities that you have just outlined. I'm going to be presenting the role of government in provision of pre-primary education. Next slide, please. Thank you very much. The presentation is organized as follows. I'll be talking about the legislation and policies, financing, capacity building, and coordination. All right. It is the role of government to provide an enabling environment through enacting appropriate legislation and development of policies. And currently, the entire education sector is guided by the Education Act of 2010, which recognizes ECE as the first level of education. We also have the Education Strategic Plan of 2016, which has the whole chapter dedicated to the ECE subsector, and it has prioritized expansion of reception classes. Mayor Shwe has just shown us the inequalities and the long routes that children have to travel to schools. It is the commitment of the government of Lesotho to expand the reception classes so that every Mosotho child have access to at least 1 year of pre-primary education. And the Lesotho Inclusive Education Policy of 2018 also emphasizes addressing the needs of every child, including those with special educational needs. The National IECCD policy and its strategic plan of 2013, it provides the direction to the subsector, and it highlights all the goals of the ECE. The ECCD curriculum guide of 2021 and its implementing instruments, which are the syllabi and the teacher's guide, also show commitment of the government of Lesotho in provision of quality early childhood education. And the registration guidelines, of course, which were revised in 2022 to enable the ECCD centers to register with the ministry. Next slide, please. And financing. It is the responsibility of government to fund education, especially the early learning, for us to attain inclusive quality early education. And this year, the share of education recurrent budget from the government spending is at 13%. And pre-primary budget allocation in the education budget is 0.7%, as Mayor Shwe has just highlighted that it is less than 1%. And I should share with you that this 0.7% The larger part of it is that of salaries of teachers, the ECCD teachers at the reception classes, and salaries for staff, including those in the district, and which leaves a smaller portion to undertake activities. This budget is very inadequate to create access, and there's a need to increase the reception classes from 242 to 1,486, which is the number of public primary schools in the country. And there's also a need to provide inclusive age-appropriate wash facilities in the receptions and the ECCD centers, because really the situation is not so good. So what can be done? We have a long way to go in our advocacy efforts. We need to improve on advocating for increase of allocation for ECE. And we need also to generate evidence so that we can convince the private sector, the decision makers in the government, to increase investment in ECE. How can we generate this evidence? By the use of the ECE subset, the ECE toolkit. This ECE toolkit is a comprehensive toolkit which has been developed by the Global Partnership for Education in order to improve ECE globally. Depending on our focus at the time, there are those tools which guide on how we should do certain things. And the government has developed the ECE advocacy strategy, which was also used using the guidance of the tools in this toolkit. This advocacy strategy is at validation stage, and it will help us to target different stakeholders or different players in the ECE subsector for them to raise a voice for increment of the budget allocation to the subsector. And we have also used the ECE simulation model, which is a tool that shows all the necessary resources needed, including teachers, furniture, and it also shows the costs. And this tool can be powerful in advocating for increase of the ECE, showing the decision makers how much is needed for them to at least expand reception classes. Next slide, please. Okay, now we come to capacity building. It is also the role of the government to provide capacity for the staff or personnel. The institutions of higher learning, which are LCE and NAL, currently provide pre-service training of ECCD teachers, and the in-service trainings have been conducted by MOYED officers when funding is available. And UNICEF has been funding these in-service trainings, but the last training was held in 2019, which means there's a huge gap since then. Next slide, please. The last one is coordination. That is the role of government. And at national level, the ECCD is responsible for coordinating all the stakeholders, which include line ministries, the non-governmental organizations, the development partners, through the multi-sectoral team and the ECE technical working group. The ECE technical working group was established in 2019 with the guidance of one of the tools in the ECE accelerator toolkit. And this group is focused on the education part, as this is the early childhood education group. The national office is also responsible for coordinating the district personnel, which are the national teacher trainers, 10 of them, one per district, and the home-based resource teachers found in the 2 districts of Mohalisuk and Liribe. At district level, the districts are responsible for implementation of activities, including mentoring, support, and training to teachers. They also coordinate with other ministries and agencies through the multi-sectoral platforms like the district child protection teams and the district nutrition teams. As we know that ECCD is multi-sectoral in nature. Next slide, please. That's the end of the presentation. Thank you very much for listening. Me shweshwe o itse re summarize ditaba tsa rona ka Sesotho. Bo mme le bontate. Ditaba tse re buang ka tsona, tse ke ne ke bua ka tsona, ke ho bontsha boikarabello ba mmuso ha re tla ho thuto ya dikonyana. Mme re bo arotse ka mekgahlelo e mene. E leng wa pele ke ho fana ka tataiso ka ho etsa melao e tsamaisang subsector ena ya rona ya ECCD. Mme ke bontshitse hore melao e teng na ke efeng ho qala ka Education Act of 2010. Ya bobedi ke ditaba tsa ho fana ka tjhelete, hore tjhelete ha e le siyo ha hona letho le ka etsuwang. Tjhelete e ntshetse meralo pele ya lekala, mme ho hawe dikolo, ho patalwe matitjhere hore ngwana e mong le mong wa Mosotho a tsebe ho fumana foundation e hantle dikonyaneng. Ya boraro ke taba ya capacity building, e leng ho ntlafatsa bahlanka kapo staff setting sa lekala. Mme ke bontshitse moo teng hore matitjhere a dikonyana a kwetliswa ka dikolong tse kgolo tse 2, Lesotho College of Education le the National University of Lesotho. Ya ho qetela ke taba ya coordination, e leng e kenyeletsang ho jwale ho etsa meralo le ho ikenya tshebetsong. Mme teng ke bontshitse hore ke e etswa ka the National Office based mona Maseru le ditiriki ba etsa mosebetsi o moholo wa ho ntshetsa pele meralo ya lekala ho a fihla tlase mane dikolong. Mme yona e etsuwa ke the National Teacher Trainers bao ba teng ditirikeng tse 10. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mayor Masefiso. It is very important that we understand how the government finances early childhood education, so that we as the nation can start demanding and advocating for our children to be well educated. They all need early childhood education. From there, we will have our panelists making a presentation. From Botswana, we have Mayor Felicitas. Over to you. Felicitas? Mayor Felicitas. Since we are not able to hear anything from Ms. Felicitas, maybe Melody can come next, and then we'll try and look for Felicitas. Melody, are you ready to give your presentation?
Yes, I am.
Please go ahead, Mayor.
Okay. I'm trying to see where to share my screen. Oh, here it is. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Mayor, please go ahead.
Okay.
Please make it in a presentation form so that we can only see one screen at a time.
Okay, let me try, but normally when I do that, I encounter problems, but let me try. Share.
Yes, Mayor, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. What is this? Okay, my name is Lati Lerotodi. I work for UNICEF Lesotho as an ECD specialist. So today I am going to make a presentation on the role of development partners towards pre-primary education in Lesotho. Now, because I work for UNICEF, I will only talk about UNICEF as a development partner. So, okay, UNICEF normally aligns with global commitments and national priorities when working in any country. So in Lesotho, as a development partner, UNICEF does the following. We do evidence and data generation. We make sure that whatever we do with the government, because the most important partner that we work with, that we support, is government. And then because government cannot do it alone, we also partner with CBOs or non-governmental organizations, because we know that non-governmental organizations such as NECDO do help government to achieve the priorities which may be in the global commitments, priorities that may be in the national priorities documents such as NSDP2, priorities that may be in the sector plans. Okay, so we do generate evidence. We also support government and non-governmental organizations and institutions of higher learning to generate data. So this is evidence that informs planning and general programming. For instance, when we conduct situation analysis on children, that informs policy direction or the actual policy development. Well, I'll give you another example. You know, before development of the national policy for integrated early childhood care and development policy, we conducted consultations. We generated evidence. We wanted to know what Basotho wanted for their children, so that that information could inform the ICCD policy. So this is what we do as development partners, evidence generation. So another example of evidence that we helped or we supported to generate was the development of early learning and development standards. And those have informed ECCD learning through play curriculum, which Memas Fiso has talked about. And then the other example of evidence that was generated with our support was conducting of subsector analysis, not subsector. Actually, this is a sector analysis that we supported, which informed education sector plan of 2016 and 2026. So I have to explain here that although it was the whole sector, but also the ECE subsector analysis was conducted. Another example of evidence generation. In 2019, as Masfiso said, we conducted a diagnosis of the subsector through the initiative called Better Early Learning and Development at Scale initiative. So one of the issues that this workshop diagnosed was the old ECCD curriculum that was still being used. And because of that diagnosis, we had to review the 1998 ECCD curriculum. So you see, we did not just, out of the blue or tomorrow morning when we felt better and agreed to review a curriculum. That was informed by evidence. So another piece of evidence that UNICEF supported was supporting EMIS to include ECC data. Initially, for those of you who were not here, ECCD data did not form part of EMIS. So it was through UNICEF as a development partner that ECCD data was included in the EMIS. We know that it's not everything that we want that is included in EMIS, but at least something crucial is included in EMIS. It's a step forward, and we are grateful. So another piece of evidence that we supported was subsector review. The subsector review that was held this year in April, was out to see how the subsector was faring in implementing ESP priorities, education sector plan priorities. Sorry. And the other piece of evidence that we supported was wow. Can you hear me now? Where did you lose me?
We just lost you for probably a few seconds, so please go ahead, ma'am.
Okay. So I was saying that another piece of evidence that as UNICEF we supported was the subsector capacity assessment. For any subsector or for any organization to embark on capacity development, it has to be supported by evidence that we need capacity in these areas. So as UNICEF and as a development partner, we felt that we needed to support generation of evidence on capacity issue. Where exactly do we need capacity building? What organizations in the subsector need capacity building so that it is well planned for, so that even the teachers, know, or institutions of higher learning know exactly what kind of capacity is needed in their institutions. So another piece of information and or evidence was MIX 2018. MIX is multiple indicator cluster survey. So this, because it was household survey, actually gave us robust information, and that informed our programming, especially during COVID and later initiatives. Because right now, as we speak, UNICEF and Ministry of Education and Training are developing a new country program. And our new country program for the basic education and adults and development is actually focusing on learning from preschool, or even learning from, you know, the time a child is there, you know, is born. Because learning doesn't begin at school, but learning begins at home. So we are focusing on learning. And this is the evidence that we got from MIX.
Melody, please know that you are left with 3 minutes.
Okay, so capacity development is another area which we deal with as development partner called UNICEF. We supported, for instance, we have supported LCE to establish the first ever preschool teachers qualification, that was SESE, and also supported LCE on online pedagogy, and also in service training of teachers that Nemas Fiso talked about. We supported Ministry of Education and Training, and also introduction of pre-service diploma, and now we are supporting bachelor's degree at LCE. The other area which we are involved in as development partners, which is very crucial, is resource mobilization. We do resource mobilization. For instance, we leveraged 2.5 million from RFF, which later has been used to leverage a matching grant from GPE. So it is UNICEF. Remember, even RFF came through UNICEF in Lesotho. So we're trying by all means to get more resources for the subsector by also forging partnerships which can bring more funds into the country for the subsector. Coordination, Memas Fiso has talked a lot about it. We are supporting coordination in the subsector. And then even planning and budgeting. As I said, during the development of education sector plan in 2015, before we completed it 2016, we introduced and used simulation model to inform that sector plan. Community engagement, which is a very important area for us. So through partnerships and other collaborations, as UNICEF, we engage in capacity building of communities and caregivers. And during COVID-19 pandemic, remember, UNICEF partnered with NECTO to train caregivers and parents on prevention of COVID-19 and on stress management. NECDOL also engaged communities on the importance of early learning and pre-primary education. And some ECCD centers were actually established while others were resuscitated. Because as NECDOL was going, you know, through the communities, NECDOL realized that, or discovered that, there were those that actually were there before, and now they died. So NECDOL was instrumental in resuscitating them. Lastly, advocacy. We engage in high-level advocacy. Endless advocacy by UNICEF has resulted in general strengthening of the subsector, including strengthening teacher development and supply, and also scaling up reception classes. Metuto told us, I think it was yesterday, that now there are additional 68 reception classes. So we are no longer going to be talking about 243 or 242, but it will be 3 something. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I will entertain questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melody. Melody, can you please just summarize in 1 minute, Lesotho? Just 1 minute. Thank you.
UNICEF ha iketsetse ditaba tsa yona ile UNICEF fela, empa ikamahanya le meralo ya mmuso le meralo ya lefatshe ho bona hore UNICEF e thusa mmuso ho etsa hore bana ba fumane tse ba lokelang, mme re etsa tsena ka hore ebe re bona hore ho na le ho bona hore re ba le re etsa research, re etsa hore ho be le evidence e supang hore na ebe dikgaello di hokae, ebe jwalo rona re kena ka hore dikgaello tseno re thusa mmuso ho di bona le batho ba bang ba wileng balekane ba rona. Mme taba tsena kaofela re di etsa le ka advocacy, taba tsena kaofela re di etsa le ka hore re batlele Lesotho kapa naha tjhelete, hobane le ha o ka ba le meralo e metle, haeba e sena tjhelete ya hore e kenye tshebetsong, ha hona letho le ka lokang. Mme re sebetsa le bo Necto le balekane ba bang ba rona ho bona hore le batswadi ba tseba ka molemo wa ngwanakonyana. Ke a leboha mme.
Melody, thank you very much. Mayor Felicitas, I'm not sure if she's still here as she had another meeting, but let me check. Felicitas, are you still here? Felicitas? Felicitas? Okay, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It seems that we have a challenge in finding Mayor Felicitas, but I will just give a short brief why we wanted Mayor Felicitas to also be part of this presentation. The reason that we wanted Mayor Felicitas to be part of this presentation is because she works for QUINSA, Child Rights Network Southern Africa. And Child Rights Network Southern Africa is responsible for ensuring that the SADC region has policies that speak to children, and it has policies that protect children. And currently there are many different policies, but there are no there are not policies but protocols, because we take from the protocols while we are developing our national policies. Currently, there is no protocol at the SADC region that speaks directly to the issues of children. And therefore, the Child Rights Network, led by Mayor Felicitas, is developing a protocol on children. And inside this protocol on children, SADC protocol on children, we are going to have issues speaking to children accessing daycare services as well as early childhood education. And the reason the protocol is important is because when governments agree on issues at a regional level, you'll find that it is easier for countries then to implement them at a national level, and also for CSOs to then hold the government accountable on issues that are written down. So we are hoping that the protocol will be soon ratified by all countries, including Lesotho. And we are going to have a conference that we're going to look at issues of children in October in Botswana from the 23rd to the 28th of October. And this is not our last webinar, but it's just the first of the webinars that we are going to have on issues of early childhood care development and education. And ladies and gentlemen, you are now allowed to ask questions or give comments. Please raise your hand so that my Lord can allow you to, to speak. And as we are waiting for questions or comments from participants, Melati or Memasfiso, would you like to add anything else?
Nasheshe, anything else pertaining to?
Anything else pertaining to the issues of early childhood education, as today we are only focusing on early childhood education.
Okay, Mewak.
Yeah.
Mine, I think it's an observation that I think LCE is not here. I don't know whether an invite was extended to them. So
No,
Okay.
the invite was not extended to them. We only invited 3 participants for this webinar.
Okay.
But in the future, they will definitely be invited. What did you specifically want them to maybe talk about that you can highlight us? And then in the next webinar, they will be invited.
Teacher development and supply, or well, even if it's not supply, but at least professional development of teachers.
Thank you very much, Melody. That is a very good point. Hangata re bone hore dikolo tsa dikonyana Lesotho mona di ngata le hoja di sengata ho latela hore na re na le bana ba bakae le hore lebelletse bana ba bakae ka hara dikolo. Mme o tla fumana hore jwale motho e mong le e mong ha a sena mosebetsi kapa ha sa ile retirementeng o batla ho bula sekolo sa dikonyana. Ene batswadi ha ba botse le ho botsa hore na titjhere e rutang ngwana hae na e na le kwetliso e feng na ile ya hore e lo ikwetlisetsa ho ruta ngwana wa konyana. Taba ena ke taba e bohlokwa haholo e Melati a e kenya mona le hoja ra sa ka ra bua ga mema le dikolo tse kwetlisang matitjhere a dikonyana. Hore motho ke titjhere a se bolela hore hlile o so ka kwetlisa hohle, ke ka hona ho tla ba le titjhere e tla kwetlisa ma-university, batho ba secondary le ba high school le dikonyane mona. Kgothaletso e ntse le hore wena o le motswadi a go botse hore na ngwana wa hao titjhere ya ngwana hao na ile sekolong sa mofuta ofeng. Jwalo ka ha re bontshitse hore ehlile 80% ya matitjhere a rona a dikonyana ha ya sekolong sa dikonyana. Bonnete teng a kwetlisitswe hoba di-national teacher trainer tsa rona tsa ntse Masfiso a ile a bua hore di teng diterekeng di a kwetlisa. Fela he re ntse re kgothaletsa hore hantle motho a tshwanetseng hore a rute sekolong sa dikonyana ke motho a kwetlisitsweng a ileng sekolong sa ho ruta dikonyana. Mme Lesotho College of Education ehlile e se e ruta batho ka ditaba tsena tsa kwetliso ya dikonyana le National University jwalo ka ha Melati a ile a bontsha. Re a leboha Melati, nako e tlang re tla ba bitsa le bona ba tlo tla ba re fa hore na hore motho e be titjhere a konyana na o tshwanetse a be le di-qualification di feng. Mme Masfiso na ebe wena mohlomong kapo Melati ke bona ka you wanted to say something, please go ahead.
I just wanted to say thank you. That is well put by you.
Thank you very much. Mayor Masfiso, do you want to say something?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. She just said very soon, 242 reception classes. Yes. And I just want to say, process here, recruitment of those 68 teachers is in progress. So how funyane hore jwalo ka ha re boletse lekala la thuto ta ka tswela go ho be le reception class e le go ngwana e mo le Mosotho a tseba ho fumana early foundation, and that will happen very soon, but not so soon. Hobane re a tseba hore di processes tsa ho recruit di nka nako, especially for batho ba bakalo. So we will keep updating on how far are we with that process. Thank you, Ms. Shushin.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fiso. One thing that I would like to talk about here is the issue of language. In our education policy, it is clearly stipulated that children should be taught in their mother tongue. And us as NECDO, since we are the advocates of the people, we just want to put it out there that the Ministry of Education and Training should actually strengthen their monitoring systems, because we see a lot of government school moving to teaching children in English, and we are neglecting Sesotho. Yet the policy clearly states that children should be taught in their mother tongue until they're in grade 3. And also children in other districts such as Kuting, where we find a lot of Xhosa speaking people, should be accommodated, and the government should ensure that these children are taught in their mother tongue. And also the issue of sign language, as we know that we do have sign language. It is a mother tongue for other people. And this is not just only for the government, but for everyone. It is a call for all of us that we should ensure that we provide children inclusive early childhood education. Ladies and gentlemen, is there anybody who has a comment or a question before we close our webinar?
The curriculum guide we talked about 2021 it emphasizes, and I think really strengthen our monitoring. It should be like that, especially at this early years. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Ms. Fiso. Please go ahead, me.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Kinta de me say asem
Ke kopa tshwarelo ntate.
ano bothata me hona bothata I have 2 questions. On your presentation, the presentation ya Chetane, if I'm right, yes. The first question you in your presentation you talked about the challenges that are faced by the ECD centers in Lesotho. Overcrowding class, we have limited classes, but the space is not accessible to all students. Really, what is the highly recommended ratio of the teacher to students in order for us to say or conclude that this classroom is accommodative or is stimulating or welcoming for each learner to learn effectively and efficiently? Then my second question goes to the presentation of Mayor Chetane. So she talked about tabaya capacity building component. And then in this component of capacity building on May Shatane's presentation, in the pre-service training of ECD facilitators who are now to our higher learning institutions in Lesotho, also train special education teachers on ECD, because in our ECD centers in Lesotho, we have a lot of students with special disabilities or special needs. So, and that learners need VARA and comprehensive care to the highly trained teachers on inclusive education. So, our those institutions today also offer such training of today offer capacity building on that issue or on that domain of special education to our ECD facilitators. Message.
Thank you very much, and let me take another hand. May Tshwana Letela, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Me Tshwana Letela. Ke na le potso on the issue of gender. From a gender perspective, the name of the webinar, Inequalities in Accessing ECD. Ke ne ke na le mohlomong expectation ya hore in the presentations for the situation on the ground, ebe e jwang ntlheng ya access to taba ena dikonyana ho bonahala ho na le equality tabeng ya enrollment in terms of bana ba bashanyana le ba banana na, kapo ha se taba e ileng ya shejwa ka tsela ya perspective ya gender. Ke a kgola ke ne ke hloka ho utlwisisa hore na do we have equal enrollment kapo re equal a ke tsebe nna ke ka e beha jwang, but
thank you very much, Me Masfiso tla ya araba le yona taba ena. Me Masfiso, le hoja Ntate Dineo a butsitse potso ena ya taba ya ratio, ke nahana hore wena jwalo ka motho wa lekala ko wena ka hla ya arabang ka tsela e nepahetseng. Kindly address these 3 questions shortly, because we have 4 minutes left and I still see 2 hands. Ke a leboha, Me.
A dibonyana a kwetliswa ka taba tsa special education ke tlo ya arabela ka ho sebisho fela ke kutlwe LCE hore ebile department ya bona e bitswa special education hore ba rupela matitjhere le ka taba tsa special education. It would be very nice, like Melody said, hore ba be teng next time, but ihle ke kutlwe ka ho jwalo. And ha re kena tabeng ena ya inequalities in terms of gender, me ona rena re bona enrollment di le jwang bashanyana compared to banana. Yes, me mona dikonyaneng we have learned that there is gender parity. Dipalo tsa banana le tsa bashanyana ha di fapane haholo, ha ho tshwane le ha o ntso ya di-grades tse hodimo o tla fumana bashanyana ba se ba thefleile ba sa kene sekolo jwalo ka di banana. So here if we have gender parity, this is according to the statistics tsa rona se collectwang annually. Thank you very much. Ha ke tsebe ha ebe hona le ke sileng.
O sile ya ratio in the classroom, Me.
Okay, Me Shweshwe, yeah, okay, yeah, ratio, it's 1 teacher to 30 children. That is recommended. Okay, at least ngwana e mong le mong a tsebe hore titjhere a mo fihlele. Ke a leboha.
Ke a leboha, Me Masfiso. Ke kopa hape o kgona hore ke tle ke arabele mme Letela ka hore for you to get access yeah ntho tsa data, you can also ask for education sector analysis from the Ministry of Education and Training. Mme Thato Masupa ke kopa ho fa sebaka.
Okay, ke a leboha mme, ke dumedise batho bohle. Ke a kgola potso ya ka, ha ke tsena ke potso kapa ke but e tla utlwahala. Potso ya ka e lebile haholo ho mme, ke mme wa education, ke a kgola. Hore na taba ye ya ECCD kapo ECCD ke neng e tla ba tuition free kapo mmuso o ntso etsa jwang hore e sebeletse hore e tle be comprehensive for every child, even if le bana ba batswadi ba bona ba sa kgoneng, because re elelletswe hore tjhelete e ngata it's significantly devoted to higher education. So ke a kgola if mmuso o ka sheba ka leihlo le leng hore na ba investa jwang into ECCD ho etsa bonnete ba hore re fihlela SDG goals I mean the SDGs mo re reng by 2030 na re bona eka na ebe re tla be re ngwanana e mong le mong le moshanyana e mong le mong o tla bana le access to quality early childhood development care kapo yona pre-primary education. Ke a kgola ke concern ya ka hobane jwale re elelletswe hore bana ba nang le access ho pre-primary education ke bana bao batswadi ba bona ba kgonang, but bao batswadi ba bona ba sa kgoneng jwale ba bonahala the system e ba siya ka ntle. Ke utlwile ha bua ka funding, but ha nka ka utlwa hore na mmuso ona o tlo etsa eng. Ke a leboha.
Ke a leboha mme Thato. Mme Lati ke bona letsoho la hao.
Yeah, mme kutlwa ka some of the things di se di arabetswe, empa he ke rata fela ho nyanyeletsa tabeng ya mme Masfiso ya inclusive education during training of the pre-primary teachers. Even the in-service training itself, that is normally conducted by the Ministry of Education and Training, they make sure that they include disability inclusive training, so that at least, even if it's not a fully fledged inclusion training, but the teachers should be able to handle with care or responsibly, or able to teach children with different disabilities. That is what the Ministry of Education and Training does during the in-service training of teachers at pre-primary education. In addition to what Mme Masfiso said about what is happening at LCE, Lesotho College of Education. Now, on gender, my presentation had a status. Of course, Mme Masfiso has mentioned or clarified that there is parity. But then, in terms of teachers, we realize that there are more female teachers than male teachers in the subsector, understandably so, because of the reasons that you all know. But now, gender is not only about numbers or parity. Let's look at the curriculum. Let's look at the teaching and learning materials. Are they gender transformative? Are they gender responsive? Do our teaching and learning materials make sure that they do not perpetuate gender stereotypes. I don't know, because I haven't really, analyzed or assessed teaching and learning materials in the subsector. So what we have to ask ourselves is whether the teaching and learning materials are gender transformative or gender responsive. Actually, we have moved away from being responsive. We want to transform education, bearing in mind that there is gender, in the picture. So that is what I wanted to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Melody. It seems that we do need this kind of webinars. And since we are picking a lot of gaps that we need to discuss, Mayor Maspiso, can you please just shortly reply to Mayor Thato's concerns? And then we can close the webinar and hopefully have another one very soon. Hello, Mayor Maspiso. You are breaking. It seems Mayor Maspiso is having some challenges. Mayor Thato, Mayor Maspiso, are you back?
Can you hear me?
Hello, Mayor. Mayor Maspiso, please go ahead.
Okay, hi, thank you very much. Meta don't abutitse rona kining ECCD provision it aba free. So kita kopa ho khutlela ho hopotsa Meta do re ke re khutlela hanyane presentation ya meshweshwe ya bontshitseng mekgwa e meraro yeo thuto ya dikonyana e providwang ka yona. Ki di reception class, ki di home base, ki ECCD centers, and the reception class le di home base center o bontshitse hore provision is totally free. The government pays for the teacher, regard teaching and learning material, and batswadi ha ba patale letho. And we also have the ECCD centers. The centers, they are privately owned. Them batsona ba collect the school fees, and that is payment. The government cannot invest. Budima, the private owners, persons ba collect the school fees from bana. But the government also supports the ECCD center through feeding. Bana ba fedra through the school feeding program. And like Kichulo. Hello, Meshoshe. Thank you very much. So the government is committed to invest in ECD provision, but through the reception class, which are attached to public primary schools, most are battling fee. So it is free. Thank you, Mayor. I hope ki hlakisitse.
Unfortunately, the webinar is now 21 minutes past because we had only allocated an hour for webinar. It is very clear that we need to have this kind of discussions. We need to make them more public, and we need next time to ensure that all stakeholders are invited. So in the next webinar, we will ensure that we also have the institutions of training represented. We'll also have teachers, trained teachers on ECCD, and untrained or privately owned, like private owners of ECCDs, because we need to have these discussions, for we are aware that early childhood education is the foundation of education, and it will help us in ensuring that we reduce the number of dropouts and we have more professionals at country level. For honoring our invitation, and we hope that you will be able to make it to the next webinar that we shall share the information on. Re a leboha.
Thank you so much, NECDO, for organizing.
Thank you, Mesheshe. Thank you, colleagues, for coming. Thank you. I enjoyed myself.
Hello,
We are
Hello,
so proud of
Ntate.
you. NECDO is making us proud.
Ntate.
Yeah, I had another comment here. It's an addition. If you allow me to talk about it, ma'am.
Yes, Ntate, please go ahead.
Oh, okay. I was coming to talk about it, Abaya. It is just an addition. If what if during the in-service trainings of ECD teachers, what the Ministry of Education o etsa matsepa go bona go ba etsa incorporate taba ya Convention on the Rights of a Child gore matitjhere ka dikonyana tseba go ba a tseba ditokelo tsa bana bona ke difeng e le gore nakong e le gore ba ntse ba ruta bana bana gobane most of the teachers ba rutang dikonyaneng ke matitjhere e le gore a unqualified, so for them to work hard and to know their mandate e le gore ba tlene ba gopola gore no about this confession re tshwanetse re tiise re tseba gore in future bana bana ba tla tswa kgweleng ka mokgwa o leng gore o hlakile.
Okay, re a leboha haholo ntate. Ebile ra bona hore there are so many issues that we need to discuss in order to ensure hore taba ya early childhood education Lesotho mona e ba at quality ebile a nehela bana bohle. So what we are going to do from now onwards, re tla lefa an opportunity, we'll post it on Facebook and ask for now ke di topics di feng tse le utlwa ekare we need to discuss, and na ke di panelists di feng tse le utlwa ekare re ka di invite, and then we can have this conversations. And we even have this one on our Facebook page, so you can go back and check. E le hore e hlile re se re tlo tla re ba le conversations tsenana re di bulele ka ntle ho di office, re kenyele matitjhere batho ba fapane mohlomong le batho ba utlwa ekare bona nentse e se karolo ya taba tsa early childhood education, e tla ha ba mamela taba tsa rona e hlile ba tla bona hore no re karolo ntate e le hore taba eo ya how ya convention on the rights of children e bohlokwa haholo ebile definitely it is a topic that we will write down to be presented on. Re leboha haholo ka tlhokomediso eno.
Ke a leboha Mesheshe, ke a leboha.
Ke a leboha ntate. Bomme le bontate, our contact numbers are 2731 2222 2731 4, and you are always welcome to contact us and for us to suggest any engagements. We are always welcome. We are always willing to collaborate and participate. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.